What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is episode number 3 of Island Time. I am Steven Rissotto, along with Antonia Maffei, and today's guest we have is NBC Bay Area's own Terry McSweeney. Terry, how are you doing?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well, we're excited, and of course, I know the Christmas season is approaching rather quickly. Before we get into things here, is Christmas shopping for you wrapping up, or have you started? What's your progress with Christmas shopping this year?
Have not? Well, wait a minute. I was going to say haven't purchased one thing, but that's not true. This week, I purchased Christmas cards. So I am just moving down the road. I'm thinking about the people at work, and I'm going to get them some money orders, that kind of thing, and I'll put them in the card and give them to them. And but other than that, I'm not a great. I've never been confused for Santa Claus.
All right. Thank you once again, Mr. McSweeney, for agreeing to come on to Island Time. Now, we all know that this Christmas season is a little bit different. So just a quick question. What are your plans for this holiday season? And is there an extra sense of precaution due to COVID-19?
Oh, definitely an extra sense of precaution. I mean, that bulletin that came out today, did you guys get it too? It came out with the alert music. Did you get that thing?
Scared me.
Yeah.
I'm on a phone call, and all of a sudden it starts going off, and I'm going, what's this? And it was just, telling us about the COVID travel thing. Definitely a sense of precaution there. My holidays are going to be, and I'm kind of, I kind of enjoy this. It might sound weird. I'm going to be working a lot during the holidays. I'm going to be working Christmas Eve, Christmas night. I'm going to be working New Year's Eve, New Year's night, and the days before. I'm going to be anchoring the weekday newscast for a few nights down at NBC Bay Area, down in San Jose at the studios, and I enjoy that. So, I'm going to be spending my holidays down there. Christmas morning's going to be kind of cool. My son Jack is in town from UC Santa Cruz, and I'm going to be with him and his mom. And my other son Van is going to be down in LA. He can't join us, but I'm sure we'll do a Zoom or FaceTime or something with him down there. It's going to be good.
Awesome. And of course, the COVID-19 vaccine is here, and it's all over the news, and eventually it will be distributed to everyone. It's a bright, and I think we've heard the phrase of the light at the end of the tunnel after all these long months. How has it been for you reporting during this year? I guess you could call it the year from hell. How's it been for you reporting, you anchoring, you covering it here in the Bay Area?
We February, all of a sudden it just started coming so rapidly into our lives, and we all NBC issued every crew a microphone that you could like an extension microphone, a boom microphone that you could stretch out to 6 to 8 feet away. That happened. Masks everywhere. Very few people being at the station. The absolute minimum number of people at the station. That's really weird down there. It's a huge newsroom, and there's like nobody there. That's really strange. As far as covering the news, I used to meet up with a photographer at 3 p.m. I worked the night shift on my reporting nights, which is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'd meet up with a photographer somewhere. I'd get into the car with him, and we'd drive to wherever we were going to do our story, interview people, do a stand-up, do live, whatever. Well, now I drive my car, and we go somewhere mutually convenient, and we generally do, not every time, but many nights, we do Zoom or StreamYard interviews. If we need to go get some B-roll, so we need to go with video to go with the story, we drive there and he gets out and shoots it. But it's really distant everything. And some nights he we do the interviews on StreamYard, which is like Zoom, and we shoot the interviews. We're not even in the same town, and we shoot the interviews and grab some file video to go with the story, and I cut my track on my phone and email it to him or text it to him, and he takes it, puts it all together, sends me a copy of it to see if I like it, and then we're done. So some nights it's really working from home, and I don't really like it that much. I like to go out and be where the story happened and talk to other people around it, and you never know what you're going to find when you go to a story. That's 90% of the story is like being at the scene, and sometimes we don't go to the scene anymore because of COVID precautions. So it's really weird, very weird. Plexiglass everywhere at the station, by the way. Everybody's super divided, like you're in a little tank.
Yeah, and those of you that follow Terry on Twitter notice that he's always filming short clips at the beach, taking photos of the sunset and other sights and sounds. So what are some of the motives behind capturing those important moments?
I live in Marin, and one of the things about it, any county in the Bay Area would be just great. The thing about Marin is you got the mountains, you got the beaches, you got the bay, and when I'm out, and sometimes I just see things. I do love nature, and I see things that really impress me and that they move me emotionally, and I just put them up there in case someone likes it. I had one thing in particular recently. I had the goldest sunset shot I've ever seen, and I got a picture of that, and I put it on Twitter and Facebook, and I think Instagram too. And it was just stunning to me. I mean, some people. I do have a theme to the most of the videos that I post, but when I see something spectacular, I want to share it, like the huge waves. Last week, early this week, golden sunset, just things like that, just amazing. And you were talking earlier about that notification everybody got, and I took a picture of that and put that on Twitter, and that one went crazy. I got 100 and something people liking that. Everybody got it, so everybody could relate to it. So that was another thing I just recently posted. Yeah.
At that point, you just gotta turn off your phone and for a little bit because all the notifications go nuts. So a big reason we wanted to talk to you today was because your career has been a very storied one, and your story kind of correlates with the field that Antonio and I kind of want to get into ourselves. So just a quick side note, the first time I heard of you was I think it was last year. Alex Rodriguez's car was broken into.
Yes.
And
yes, indeed.
I took a selfie with A-Rod the night that it happened, a few hours before it happened, and I saw the report the next day that he had got his car broken into, and everybody's framing me. I'm like, oh no, I didn't do it. So just getting all that on the record, I did not break into Alex's car. It doesn't interest me at all. Anyway, so how did you decide to get into journalism and media yourself?
Well, it started for me 8 million years ago. When I was a kid growing up, I used to listen to a lot of rock and roll and listen to disc jockeys. Back in the day, disc jockeys were like, and they still are to a degree, but back then there were fewer stations, so every DJ had more of a audience. And some of those DJs back, long before either of you guys, or probably even your parents were alive, it was the Beatles and the Stones and KFRC and KYA, KEWB, these stations with these outrageous disc jockeys. So I first started thinking, I really like that, and it would be kind of cool to make a living playing music and talking about it. you know, there's a whole lot more to it than that, obviously. But for starters, that sounded pretty good. So I went to school I wanted to get a degree, so that would be, you know, kind of open more doors for me. I was at San Francisco State, and they had an audition for television news. Now, I love television news. My dad was a news junkie. We watched news every single night. We watched ABC. It was KGO TV. It was Van Amberg and Jerry Jensen. It was John O'Reilly on sports and Pete Giddings on weather. And we watched it every night. And we watched Walter Cronkite over on CBS. I loved the news, and we watched it every night. But I didn't know, you know, could I do it? So at San Francisco State, they had an audition for the news station there at San Francisco State, and I auditioned. And the second I sat down in that chair to audition, I felt like, wow, this is exactly what I'm going to do. It was weird. It was so weird. And it was very, very good for me because I was like, kind of up in the air about, you know, you want to be a DJ, you want to be on radio. I mean, you know, what can you really do there? And, you know, da-da-da. So at San Francisco State, I sat down and there it was, graduated from there, got a job in Reno, and been doing it for like, 40 years, something like that. Yeah.
That's incredible. Now, you're an alumni of St. Ignatius High School, while Steven and I are both Reardon guys. Both of us are Crusaders, graduated the class of 2020. So what was your experience like growing up in San Francisco?
Well, first of all, the class of 2020, I cannot tell you, I mean, that is so new and fresh and young. I mean, the class of 2020, wow. I graduated from SI, the class of 71. I know, and I can't even imagine how old that sounds to you guys.
For your sake, we will not have a reaction to that.
You muted your phones as you were saying, "Oh my God." No, I forgot what the question was about San Francisco back in the day.
Yeah, what was your experience like growing up in San Francisco?
Me and my two brothers and my mom and dad lived in an apartment in Presidio Heights. We went to Our Lady of Victory, Notre Dame de Victoire Grammar School. Took the school bus down there for the first 5 grades. We drove. It takes you through the Fillmore District and on downtown. So I have a lot of memories of going through those neighborhoods, getting down to. I mean, it was basically Chinatown. We were down there on like Pine and Grant, is where the school is, and it was. I was always blown away by the city, by all the people getting on, and then after the school bus, you know, the last 3 years we were getting on the city bus, and getting on the Muni, and all the people, all the different kind of people getting on the buses. It was just so exciting to me because where we lived, it was pretty calm. It wasn't, you know, like you go next door, you play basketball at Presidio Heights Playground, or go down and play football or baseball down at Julius Kahn Playground down the street in the Presidio. I mean, it was pretty calm where I lived, but when you got on the bus and the hustle and bustle of San Francisco, that was pretty cool. And in 1967, Summer of Love, I started my career at SI, and SI at the time was right there at 222 Stanton Street, which is right near Golden Gate Park. So there was a lot of changing stuff going on. We were all like SI back then. It was like you had to have a collared shirt. Sideburns could not go down more than halfway down your ear. Your hair had to be short. It was a real different scene than what was going on around us in San Francisco. And the hippie thing hit, and that was wild. Just very, very different people, different looks, longer hair, and that kind of thing. And I kind of gravitated towards that. I kind of liked that they were being different. Like there's a whole different way to be. I started. You couldn't grow your hair long, but when I got out of SI, went to Berkeley, and I grew my hair long there, and got into a pretty I can't say radical around here, but it was radical for what I had been seeing, at the very conservative St. Ignatius. So, grew my hair long. A lot of us did, and started, looking at things differently.
Yeah, and it's funny because now we sit here in 2020, and Reardon has just started accepting girls, and it's co-ed, and that tells you how much times have changed. After 70 years, our alma mater is now co-ed, so that's pretty incredible. So let's swap over here. So you were in attendance. We were doing some research on you, and we found out that you were in attendance at Game 3 of the 1989 World Series, or what was about to be Game 3 at Candlestick Park, between the A's and the Giants. Everyone has their story of what happened that day. So how did it occur from your point of view?
I went there. I was so excited. I had covered the first two World Series games, and the A's had won them both. But I was working and covered those games, and that was different. This game, I'm there as a fan. I'm there with my girlfriend. We're up there in Section 17. We go up into the upper reserve. We're sitting there, and I'd been at Candlestick a 1,000 times. That season, I'd been to like 50 of the home games, and the year before, I'd been to even more. And sometimes that upper deck would wobble. It would just kind of wobble, and at first you think it's something, but then it wasn't anything. But this time, I'm sitting there with her, and it starts wobbling, and then it really starts wobbling. It really starts. You're in the upper deck, and you really realize you're in the upper deck all of a sudden. And I looked up at the press box. They had that plexiglass in front of that huge press box in the upper deck, and it started like it was. You thought it was going to just come out. It just pop out because it was wobbling so much. So she and I got up, and we took about 4 steps, and it stopped. And I was thinking, well, that wasn't much of an earthquake, but it was it was a short earthquake. You could feel it. So we went back and sat down. We had no idea what had happened. The lights were off at the stadium, but that was such an old ballpark. You can't be surprised if anything happened. The lights are out. Well, I'm sure they'll get a new fuse and get it working again. But the lights were off in the scoreboard. Then you look out. You can look out across the stadium. A little bit later on, you could see the smoke coming up from the Marina District. That was scary. But what was more scary in the immediate was we're sitting back down, thinking everything was going to be okay, because it didn't really shake that much. I mean, it really didn't. All of a sudden, this woman behind us who had a TV, she was watching it, battery-powered TV, very state-of-the-art back then, and she goes, "Oh my God, the Bay Bridge collapsed." And I go, "Whoa, that was more than I thought." And so I look at the TV that she had, got behind her, and it hadn't collapsed. Just the one section did collapse, and it came down, and there was a fatality there. It was unfortunately, but when she said it collapsed, I thought the whole thing had gone, and there were like 100 cars in the bay. So then things just started coming in. Then I saw the black smoke I talked about. Then the players were out in the field with their families, and it was just kind of getting the feel for how bad it was. Then they announced the game has been postponed. Everybody got up and just walked out. It was very orderly. There was no panic. There was no screaming. And until the players came out there with their families, and they were all kind of sitting there with a certain look, I kind of thought the game was going to be played. When I heard the bridge had collapsed and I saw the smoke and the families out there, then I realized that it was far worse than I had felt. And so that's a day you should just never ever forget that.
Mhm. Another day that we will never forget is September 11th, 2001. You had the chance to report on 9/11 in New York City, which was a complete emotional time for the United States. But you also had the chance to get the pulse of the local reception and the local kind of feel around there. What was that like?
Yeah, I was working in Albany at the ABC station there, and when it happened, they sent me in a live truck with a crew down to New York City. We arrived about noon, and you see the smoke just billowing up, billowing up. Uh, we reported live for 6 days from Manhattan, and it was just it was stunning. It was you couldn't believe it. I mean, and nobody was exactly sure what was going to happen next. There were so many rumors flying. There was one rumor, a hot rumor was on that somebody had found a huge cache of explosives underneath. I think it was the John Verrazano Bridge. And the terrorists were going to keep attacking. And all these rumors were swirling. And you look up and there's F-14s flying. I mean, right above New York City. I mean, they were right there. They weren't up in the where the Blue Angels fly. They were much closer, right down near where you could just flat out really make out that jet. And it was amazing. The people of New York City, I thought, were just remarkably united. It brought them together like I couldn't believe. Everybody was just on the same page. I mean, Rudy Giuliani has gone on to quite a bit of controversy since then, but at that time, he was the mayor of New York City, and he seemed to hit all the right buttons, brought the city together. People felt shaken, but resilient. And I will never forget the resiliency and the strength of the people there in New York City with their wonderful city, under such an incredible attack.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that easily, people could have easily turned on the news and, watched Fox or CNN or ABC. But local journalism, I feel, is so underrated. It's so important. Do you feel the same way? What is so special? What is so important about local journalism? You could even touch on that situation in New York, how local journalism kind of helped, and even here in San Francisco. What is the big significance about local journalism?
You're seeing sites, you see, there's when you talk about it, if you go back to 9/11, the towers were just such an incredibly important part of that skyline. It was part of the pride of the city. It's like if they'd flown a suicide mission into the Transamerica building or the Bank of America. It's like, that building. It's you know it. You're proud of it. You didn't build it or anything. It's just part of your city. It's an important part of your city. It's a beautiful part of your city. And it was taken out, and to have people who are familiar with everything about it talking about it, you really felt like, in New York City, they felt, oh yeah, I understand it. You get it. And they talking about when the buildings collapsed, the cloud of dust went up this street and down that alley, and it was all very, very local. And that's the way I feel about when you're doing a story out here. You're talking to people about their neighborhood. I mean, when I do a story in San Francisco, I grew up here, born and raised. You've been all those streets for one reason or another over the years. You're out in Golden Gate Park in a particular area. Something happened there. You just completely understand it. And when you talk about it, people watching relate to you, and they There's just nothing like it. There's just nothing like local news. And there's just nothing like local newspapers. They're writing about things that are going to impact you. They're going to impact you for sure.
Mm-hmm. And now you've had a very long and impressive career in journalism. So what is one thing that you wish you had known when you began your career in journalism?
One thing I wish I had known. One thing I wish I had known. Well, if you could wish I had known. I was going to say I wish I knew all the ways to put a news story together. It would have saved me a lot of angst and a lot of time. I mean, you learn it as you go. And you start in a small market where everybody's making the same kind of. You're doing it the same way, the same errors, I guess you could say. I wish I had known how to put a story together, how to pick the right sound bites. I could have done better stories had I known all that stuff. But really, that's one of those things that's it's going to come with experience. And I paid attention enough to make a career out of this. Learning from maybe I should have really opened my eyes to to others in the market, look at the other reporters and anchors. I did to a degree. Maybe I could have done it more, especially the reporters, because there were some great reporters every step of the way in my career, from Reno to Sacramento to West Palm Beach to New York. There were great reporters in those markets, and as I went along, I paid more attention to them to see how they did things. I kind of picked something from here and from there in a particular situation. I could use that. So maybe if I'd been my eyes open and checked out the competition more earlier in the career, that might have been a good thing to do.
Yeah, and of course, people often view the media as unreliable, bogus. And I think the thing that I've heard, in recent years, fake news. I mean, you hear it all the time.
Fake news.
What is, and it does exist. That's the sad thing about it. So what is one maybe myth about your profession that maybe you would like to debunk?
Well, if you're talking about fake news, when a news story occurs, they send a reporter out to that story, and that reporter comes from somewhere, and she or he has a particular set of life experiences, and you cannot divorce yourself from who you are. If you go to a story and you are from a kind of, an upscale part of town, everything was pretty cool. Dad worked, mom worked, everything was good at home, that kind of thing. And you can get into journalism and you kind of approach a story with like, everything's cool. What's wrong here? Someone who's from a high crime part of town where home life was not so good, where there was, they not only were in a high crime part of town, they were around it and they saw it. They saw the results of those crimes and people being chased and You're sending individuals out to these stories with a complete different set of experiences and training. Really, nobody has the same training, experiences, upbringing, number of years of experience. Everything's different. What markets have you worked in? And so when you get out, when you're watching these people, kind of keep an open mind. This is what they're seeing. This is what they're reporting. This is who they interviewed to get the story, to round out the story. And this is their presentation. It's them. There's a part of them doing this. They're objective and they're journalists, but they're from a certain set of circumstances. You watch this same story on our station and also on CBS 5 or Kron or Channel 2, wherever, you will see that it's the same story, but you'll be getting a different perspective depending on who's out there. So, I mean, people at home have got to understand there's really not one story to tell. You've got to tell the story. You know, the mayor announced today that he's, you know, getting rid of this guy who worked for him for years, and there's some controversy about that. Well, how much time do you spend on the firing? What it's going to do to the mayor? What it's going to do to the person who got fired? Who's going to take that place? Who's putting pressure on the mayor already to take that place? I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it, and you got to just, you know, understand that, you know, you got some information. You didn't get all the information, but you got some information from one of our TV reporters. And we, you know, also, I'll tell you something else. We're given 1:30 to 2 minutes to tell the story. So you're going to get a story of what happened, and you can dig deeper if you really want to know. But you won't see that much. You'll see occasionally, you know, false presentation, but for the most part, it's people who are doing their best in you know, and there are sometimes tight deadlines, and some people don't want to talk to you, and you need to hear from them, and they don't want to talk to you, and you're up against the wall sometimes. So it's a difficult job, and everybody's bringing their own perspective. And when I hear fake news, I think of Donald Trump, because he's the guy who said it the most. I think he said it was, you know, fake news. The news wasn't telling his reality, and that's what he didn't like. So I think a lot of the times he said fake news, it was like, you could have told my side of that story more, but that's really not his call to make.
Now, you've contributed to both platforms of journalism. What would you say personally is the biggest difference between broadcast journalism and print journalism?
Print will give you far more. I mean, there was an anchor here in the Bay Area over at KGO TV, Pete Wilson, is a legend, and he held up the front page of a newspaper one time, and he said, he goes, maybe it wasn't the front page because they got that headline banner, but a page of a newspaper one time, and he said, there's more time-wise, more news on this page than we will have in a half-hour newscast. Because in a half-hour newscast, you know, you got 4 or 5 2-minute breaks for commercials. 3 minutes is weather. At the end of this, you know, show, they have a kick or something light. So you you boil it down, and you have X number of minutes of news in a half-hour newscast. When it comes to print journalism, like newspapers, which are kind of fading, which is unfortunate, you get a lot more depth from print journalism than you do on a regular old news day, you know, everyday story than you would from television. On the other hand, at our station, we have the investigative unit, and we have Garvin Thomas, and we have Joe Rissotto Jr. All of these people are given more time, and the investigative unit is given a lot of time to dig into stories and find out what's going on. So we do investigative journalism. Garvin Thomas does Bay Area Proud, which is, you know, something, it really does make you feel proud. Some of these stories are just incredible. They make you laugh, they make you cry, and I'm not kidding. Joe Rissotto Jr. is always looking into like nuanced, very, you know, different kind of offbeat stories. It's very cool. So we do spend some more time than a 1:30 or 2 minutes on those kind of stories. But every day-to-day story, you'll get more out of, you would get more depth and more digging from the Chronicle on a story, for example, than you might from a TV station.
Yeah, and Rissotto Jr. thankfully did not investigate Steven Rissotto for breaking into A-Rod's car, which again, I did not do it. I'm innocent. He had a lot of stuff in there for some odd reason. I mean, next time he comes, or, I don't even know if he will ever come and do a game again, which
Yeah.
that's such an interesting thing. So we're going to end it here on some rapid fire. We have some rapid fire questions for you. This should be a lot of fun. So first thing that kind of comes to your mind, and Antonio has the first one. Let's take it away, Antonio.
What is your favorite place outside of the Bay Area?
Hawaii.
What did Terry McSweeney have for breakfast this morning?
He had a bagel with cream cheese and not a cupcake, but a muffin and a cup of coffee from a bakery in Point Reyes Station, California.
Ooh. Sounds good. Who would play Terry McSweeney in a movie?
Oh boy.
Steve Rissotto. But if he wasn't available, boy. So my favorite actor is it's either probably Tom Cruise.
I could definitely see Tom Cruise playing you in a movie for sure. I could see him with the microphone on scene in the news van. Yeah, I can picture it all right now.
I would die.
That would be great. So last one here. What is the first thing that you have on your bucket list?
To build a cabin up on our property in Inverness. That's long-term bucket list. You mean like real short-term?
You could do either.
To build a cabin up on our property in Inverness.
Good answer.
That's the long term. Yeah. Short-term is to be on your podcast again.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun for sure. And no doubt we'll definitely have you on again. This was a lot of fun. Terry, I appreciate the time. I know you're a busy guy. I'm glad we got it on try number 2. It was a lot of fun. Keep up the great work. We'll be watching, and I know you mentioned you're working on Christmas week, so enjoy that. Enjoy the holiday season, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you both very much for having me. I appreciate you thinking of me. I really do. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. Terry McSweeney, everybody. You can follow him on Twitter at Terry McSweeney, TerryMcSweeney. That was a lot there, but I read it. And of course, you can follow the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at RizzoCast. Thank you guys for watching, and have an unbelievable rest of your day. Happy holidays, and stay safe.